We sold 29 items this week. It was a good week. There were a few big items in there. This was not one of them. This was a little 2-cup coffee pot that was laying around. It has a very bad handle, and it sold for $8.50. I always like these Tupperware canister sets. This olive green one cost us $5. It still has all the little labels on it, and was in pretty good shape. Sold for $26.50. I probably could go a little bit higher to 30, 32. We were buying gas cans like crazy for a while. I think we paid about 50 cents for this one. It's a Snozzle gasoline can, and it sold for $24.50. I get rid of my Tupperware odds and ends, and so this lid sold for $9. It's I think it's a pretty large one. It's a number 1205 anyway. 8¼ inches. So I guess I'll keep buying these and just sell the lids instead of waiting to make a set. These are Florsheim At Ease model. They cost $2.57 at the thrift store, and they sold for $30. This is a little stainless steel, maybe belt buckle. FarmFest 76 is in southern Minnesota. I sold it for a charity I work with, and it only sold for $8.50. Pretty sure I paid 50 cents for this little reel-to-reel recorder. I've had it sitting around for 2 years, and we are finally getting caught up on our backlog. It's Commodore Super Deluxe reel-to-reel. There is a tape inside. Looks pretty good, but I couldn't get it to operate. But even selling it, not operating, it sold for $21. I got these New Balance shoes at our family Christmas. After our gifts, we do does anybody want this type of thing? And so these sold for $30. I have had this forever. Maybe paid $0.25 for it, not sure. I am glad that it finally sold on sale for $7.65. It's a cross-stitch kit with some birds on it. I think the brand really matters, and these decor type things aren't as good, I don't think, as a framed picture. These are beautiful doilies that I inherited. These are all fairly small, so I put them in a lot for $10, and they sold. But it's kind of a shame how little they sell for it. We're just kind of experimenting with a big pile of doilies. Paid $2 for these boots. The brand is Corcoran. We didn't do anything to them. They're distressed. They sold through the global shipping program for $42.50, and they went to France. I have 2 panels of these and a valance. There they are. I think they were at my in-laws. I spent way too much time trying to get some spots out and work with these. So I really hate fabric things, and they sold for $14. But I sort of just wanted to see if I could sell ugly curtains. I paid $0.25 for this cap. It's in quite good shape. And I figured it would have a following, and it sold for $17. I thought Neil Bourne games sold for quite a bit, so I bought several, but they've taken forever to sell. The boxes are a little bit messed up, but they are complete. It's a game that has French words on it, and you have to get a certain number of miles on your milestones, and you give each other flat tires and speed limits and that kind of thing. And it sold for $12.75. I paid 50 cents for this small circle of artificial ivy, and it sold for $15. I don't know what I paid for this, probably not much. I never knew what it was for the longest time, but I've been told it's a tap insert for beer tap. It's kind of messed up, and it sold for $12.71. I bought this little crocheted baby on my trip to Quebec. It was at the Salvation Army in Quebec City. I bought this. It was the equivalent of $2.32 US that I paid for it. It's got a little crocheted blanket, and the rest is paper with some embroidery around the edge. So kind of nice, and it sold for $21. Paid $1 for these shoes. They don't really have a brand, but they have Goodyear heels. And they sold for $45. This is a Wilton Smurfette cake pan. It's from 1983, but many of these are not worth much. I must have been guessing when I bought this and not had my phone or something, because it doesn't go very high, and this one sold for $8. I tried an auction for these linens that I inherited. They had some nice stitching, but they also had some stains and missing some stitching, etc. So I tried an auction starting at $4.99, and yep, that's what they sold for. Good riddance. This is an American Tourister train case. It's the little case, the smallest one, I think. And it's in really good shape. It's kind of a warm brown there, and paid $4 for it, and it sold for $40. This was kind of unknown what this was for a while. I think my reseller society on Facebook helped me find out that this is a kerosene drip jar, and it sold for $17. I paid 50 cents for a Stratego game that had a really bad box, so I might use the board for something else, and I sold a complete set of pieces for $12.75. This is an 8 1/4 inch Cervelier Tupperware lid, as I'm getting rid of all my loose ends, and this one sold for $9. Another Tupperware lid. Unfortunately, when the buyer received this and put it on the bowl, it broke. So it's better to really test and manipulate these at home before you list them. It had sold for $8.50, but I had to refund the total purchase. My friend Iva gave me several barns, and I did a little cleaning and didn't know much about them, but I got this cleaned up, and so I paid nothing for it. And this is the 1986 set, kind of a later set. Not everything is there, but it was pretty good, and this one sold for $50. So I was happy with that. I paid $1/4 for Luther's Small Catechism. It was written in 1943 and revised in 65 and 71. And it sold for $6.38. This is a vintage Levy's guitar strap. My husband bought this at kind of a flea market we were at for $1. It had quite a strong musty smell, and we sold it once and said it had a little odor, and it did come back and was returned. Then I put it in a box with Irish Spring for a month, which I'd seen online, and then I let it air dry for, air out for several months, and but this time it sold, and I think that the person is okay with it. We said it, revealed that it had a little bit of leather and soap odor, etc., and it sold for $75. I usually pay about 50 cents a piece for these Bell tumblers from Tupperware. I have tried to find the sippy lids before, because I think I've sold them for $20 with the lids, but they're really hard to find lids that aren't all chewed up, and so I just sold these for $12.